We begin with breaking news. A COVID-19 outbreak has been linked to a Minnesota youth wrestling tournament that was held in South Dakota. The Northland Youth Wrestling Association 2021 state wrestling tournament was held in Sioux Falls from March 31st to April 3rd. 64 teams from at least 52 Minnesota counties took part in it. Health officials are asking anyone who attended the tournament to get tested immediately and watch for symptoms. Tension and crowds are building near Minneapolis tonight after a young black man was shot and killed by police in suburban Brooklyn Center, about 10 miles from where George Floyd died last summer. The incident led to protests and looting in the city, all of that unfolding as the Derek Chauvin murder trial begins week 3 of testimony. Reporter Jay Gray has been following it all and has the story.
Barricades and officers surround the Brooklyn Center Police Department. A day after anger and violence spilled into the streets of the Minneapolis suburb, hundreds responding to the fatal shooting of 20-year-old Daunte Wright by a police officer. Today, the city releasing body cam video from the incident. A warning, these images may be disturbing. Investigators say the video shows Wright trying to get away during a traffic stop. The police chief telling the community his officer made a deadly mistake.
It is my belief that the officer had the intention to deploy their taser, but instead shot Mr. Wright with a single bullet.
Wright was killed about 10 miles from the intersection where George Floyd died. The tension surrounding the new incident framing what was a pivotal day in the courtroom to begin week 3 of the Derek Chauvin murder trial.
Me and George, we grew up together.
With pictures from his life entered as evidence, Floyd's brother shares memories and the pain of his family's loss.
That's my mother. She's no longer with us right now, but that's my oldest brother, George. I miss both of them.
The emotional testimony, part of what's expected to be the closing day for prosecutors. That includes a cardiologist.
I believe that Mr. George Floyd's death was absolutely preventable.
And an expert on use of force. The high-profile case now set to take a dramatic shift, with the defense getting their turn with the jury.
Their presentation is expected to continue through the end of the week. The judge saying this morning we could hear closing statements as early as next week. The Minnesota Twins postponing today's game against the Boston Red Sox because of the events that unfolded last night. They released a statement saying, out of respect for the tragic events that occurred yesterday in Brooklyn Center and following the additional details in this evolving situation, the Minnesota Twins have decided it is in the best interests of our fans, staff, players, and community to not play today's game. The Minnesota Twins organization extends its sympathies to the family of Daunte Wright. The Timberwolves and Wild also announced their cancellations today. Police say several people were shot at a Tennessee high school today. It happened at Austin East Magnet High School in Knoxville. All we know so far is that one person was killed, one person has been detained. Authorities say the school is now secure and students have been released to their parents. It looks like winter is trying to make a comeback in parts of the region. We'll be dealing with rain, snow, and the travel issues. So we want to make sure and get you the latest information. Let's head right over to Hutch for more.
Andrea, thanks so much. A good Monday evening, everyone. As we head home from work or out to our Monday evening plans, this is a look live from our tower cam here in South Fargo at I-94 and University. Flakes are flying. Now, it's not accumulating even on the grassy areas here in Fargo, but that has taken place up north. Here's what you need to know. Tonight, we're going to have some sticking snow to area roads and particularly grassy areas. Several inches possible overnight up north for that morning commute. So up in the far north, a morning impact. By tomorrow morning, a messy commute in the south. In places, though, just wet in the far south. Now, by tomorrow's drive home, many areas will have snow on area roads. Take a look at this. This is Cavalier, mainly accumulating on grassy areas, but the road slushy in spots and at times. Here is a look at the Leeds area along Highway 2. So the snow on the radar is really blossoming in places we need it the most, from Minot to Devil's Lake and to Grand Forks, but it is extending into the FM area where you see the dark blues. That's a heavier band of snow making its way towards us. Relatively quiet to the south for now. The best chance of accumulation will be along Highway 200 and points north. Winter weather advisory until tomorrow evening. We'll have hour-by-hour details on exactly how much snow is expected and where, but suffice it to say, it's going to accumulate pretty well where we see temperatures already below freezing. Your hour-by-hour forecast, and we'll look ahead towards some sunshine here in just a few minutes.
Okay, thanks, Hutch. A Devil's Lake man is in jail accused of sexually abusing girls. Court documents say 60-year-old Howard Studhorse forced two girls, ages 12 and 13, to engage in several different sex acts with him in March. Documents also say that he also made three young girls watch pornography. Studhorse will be back in court next Monday. His bail has been set at $250,000. A boy is expected to be okay after being ejected from an SUV. The crash happened on Saturday night in Crookston. Witnesses told police the vehicle was speeding on a city street, then veered into a park where it rolled. Several people were seen running from the area. Officials determined there were three boys in the vehicle around the ages of 16 or 17. Pablo Salinas Jr. was also in the SUV. He is 18. A Grand Forks motel is deemed unsafe to occupy. Those who were staying at the Ambassador Motel had to leave the property. Last month, the police got a complaint regarding ADA compliance at the motel. An inspection determined that the building poses an imminent danger to the life, health, and safety of the public. The city says the exact operation of the motel is unclear and therefore violates several city ordinances. Dilworth leaders will consider a proposal tonight to limit the number of pets per household. The proposal calls for no more than 4 dogs or cats or a combination of both. It does provide for an exception for sheltered and or abandoned animals if the owners apply for a permit through the police department. If approved, it would align with what Moorhead already has on its books. The matter will be discussed at the city council meeting, which starts at 6 o'clock. Veterans across the country are struggling to access the benefits earned in service to the country, and that affects how they live and how they're remembered when they die. Reporter Kyle Madura explains it's all about a records backlog that's growing by the day.
Pardon if I get...
Melissa Hoagland wrestles with her emotions as she remembers her late father-in-law.
It's still just really fresh.
74-year-old Vietnam vet Jack Hoagland passed away in December after catching coronavirus. But a bureaucratic backlog of records requests prevented him from receiving a funeral with military honors.
We asked them to do the ultimate, and we can't even get them their basic benefits.
Across the country, families like Hoagland's are waiting on nearly 500,000 records requests. Getting documents normally takes days. Now it's months. Some could wait more than a year. Without the paperwork, veterans can't access health care, disability, and other military benefits. The National Personnel Records Center, run by the National Archives, manages the files. Its backlog ballooned when the pandemic closed the office. It's partially reopened, but still falls further behind every day. In a statement, the center's director says he understands frustrations with delays, while adding more staff are back on the job thanks to improved conditions. On a recent visit, the improvements didn't match Congressman Warren Davidson's expectations.
It's completely unacceptable.
Congress already gave the center emergency funding to get open and operating. Now, Davidson says it may be time to get filing help from the National Guard.
A military sense of urgency is required for this mission.
The National Archives plans to digitize documents to get the process up to speed, but it's a big job. All that paperwork would reach the top of the uprights if you stacked it end zone to end zone in an NFL stadium. In Washington, I'm Kyle Madura.
Spokespeople for the National Archives say it will take 18 to 24 months to get through the current backlog once they're at full staff. A bipartisan group of lawmakers, including Davidson, are also asking for a meeting with President Biden's chief of staff. A former Fargo police chief will be nominated by President Joe Biden to lead Customs and Border Protection. Chris Magnus is currently the police chief in Tucson, Arizona. Magnus has publicly criticized the immigration policies of former President Donald Trump. His nomination is one of 6 announced for roles in the Department of Homeland Security. After the North Dakota Senate turned the controversial transgender sports bill into a study rather than an actual policy change, both chambers are working on a compromise. Under the newest version of the bill, it would enact the ban on playing for teams that don't match a student's sex as listed on their original birth certificate. While the policy is in place, the state would conduct a study on the effects it would have on the state, both economically and socially. Both chambers will vote on the final version in the coming days. Meanwhile, North Dakota senators have approved a bill to make virtual learning a permanent option for students. Similar bills have passed, allowing schools to use virtual learning to make up lost days due to weather or avoid losing snow days altogether. The bill also gives students the ability to have their attendance counted for any day of the school year. School districts would need to have their online standards approved by the Public Instruction Department. The Minnesota Timberwolves are being bought out by a former baseball star. We'll tell you about the deal next on Valley News Live at 5.
It is a first alert weather day today and tomorrow as snow will continue overnight. Some of us will have morning impacts for that morning commute. Most of us will have impacts by the afternoon on your Tuesday. Hour by hour forecast details are coming up right after this.